Look, I feel like I just have to start this video off with some really humble bragging here because I legitimately called it for so long. Again, I made a video a couple months back actually talking about how I personally think Richmond's dream free agent, or I guess tradable player because he's technically a free agent in 2026, would happen to be Zack Butters. Again, a lot of you guys had a lot of different opinions in that video on like whether we should pursue him or whether we shouldn't, but we do officially know right now, and it is being confirmed by Sam McClure on Footy Classified. Again, I know technically not the best source, but also this is a guy, whether you love him or hate him, who's one of the biggest in the media right now, where he said that Bombers, Hawks, and Magpies are all chasing Zack Butters. Again, there was more to this though, with another report again by Tiger Faithful, who's a Richmond fan page. He actually did a little bit of a summary on it, saying, armed with 2 early picks in the draft in 2025, Richmond are rumoured to be ready to make a play for the power superstar Zack Butters. Butters is in contract until the end of 2026, where he becomes a free agent. Why not just wait until then? 1, he's likely to go to a club offering the most money, and 2, Port would probably match the offer and force a trade anyway. Why would Port entertain a trade of their best player? Same question you could ask of Richmond last year with Bolton and Rioli. Strike while the iron is hot. If a player doesn't want to be there, by trading him this year, Port can agree to send him home to Melbourne, but they will take the best deal available. Next year, they lose that power. Pardon the pun. Why would Richmond entertain a deal? We are in desperate need for speed in the midfield. Butters is a top 5 player in the AFL who is only 24 years old. He would give the rebuild a huge boost of class and leadership. The draft picks are a large unknown. We know what Butters is. We have a serious war chest of cash that we need to spend. Scenario: Richmond offer Butters $10 million over 7 years. Give up our first to North Melbourne's first. We still take Callaway in the draft and likely have the first pick in the mid-season and rookie draft. This report was made by Sam McClure, so take it with a grain of salt. Again, I have a lot of different thoughts and opinions on everything that I just read right now. First of all, if you think we can get Butters for $10 million on 7 years, you are completely joking yourself, and I low-key feel like that is the most wishful thinking I have ever heard. Again, we got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, the salary cap is going up in 2031, and clubs are starting to hand out deals worth up to 10 years, nearly on $2 million a year. And this is because even though the highest paid players in the game right now are on about 1.4 to 1.6 million, by the time 2031 comes around, the salary cap is reported to go up by about 35 to 45%, meaning that in 2031 and beyond, the highest paid players will probably be on like $2 to $2.5 million per season. And that's why all of these clubs are starting to give out really long-term deals that are very back-ended. Again, I guarantee you that rumored deal the Saints were going to offer Finn Callaghan was going to be really, really back-ended, that probably would have seen him make almost $2 million a year by 2031. Again, Zack Butters is only 24, turning 25. I do not see him agreeing to a 7-year deal. Again, he's going to do what every other player is going to do and walk into their meetings and be like, yeah, I think I can go till I'm 33, 34. Again, whether they actually can or not is a completely different story, because it's a load of bullshit. Most players don't make it that far. But at the end of the day, a player like Zack Butters, who is arguably a top 5 player in the league right now, is not only going to be asking for more than 7 years, but will be asking for way more than $10 million. Again, Essendon are in desperate need for players and just any talent to come to their team right now. Don't be surprised if they offered him like an 8-year deal worth probably $15 million. Again, we got to remember, the salary cap is going up, and this is just not a normal player we're talking about. This is a guy who is arguably a top 5 player in the league when he is healthy. And it's also like this guy has proven he can be on a successful team making the prelim, I think once or twice in his career. Definitely made it in 2020 against Richmond. I think, again, he made it last year as well in 2024. Probably another time as well. Again, he's never gone to a grand final, but this guy's been the best player on a team that has made the prelim multiple times. He is a guy who everyone is going to be trying to get. The issue is as well is that Richmond, we shouldn't be jumping this rebuild too early. Don't get me wrong. We had a great draft where we brought in what looks to be 8 phenomenal players, but you got to continue to add top picks to this team, because at the end of the day, Richmond didn't win their 3 premierships by just having, 2 top 10 picks like Richmond have done right now with Smiley and Lawler. Again, Cochin was a pick 2. Dusty was a pick 3. I know Delito didn't play in the Flags, but he was a pick 1. Dion Prestia was a top 10 pick by Gold Coast. Josh Caddy was pick, I think it was 7. Tom Lynch was a top 10 pick, etc., etc., etc. They had so many top 10 picks and high volume talent that the Tigers right now have to still take a top 10 pick player in the 2025 AFL draft. Again, at the end of the day, I can see a world where Richmond will probably say to Port, look, we're going to keep our own top 5 pick. We'll give you North's first round pick, which should probably still be a decent pick, like pick 5. We'll give you that pick, and maybe we'll give you our future first. So, probably pick 5 this year and maybe like pick 4 next year. And we'll bring in Zack Butters to the team. We get to keep our most likely top 3 pick. And again, that's a deal I could see maybe happening. And even though it still sounds like a lot, Zack Butters is a legit, nearly top 5 player who has proven success, who is extremely young. You still got to kind of do that deal. The issue is, though, is that I don't see a world where Port Adelaide do that, because they would be like, hey, Richmond, this guy's still contracted for a whole entire year. Guess what? We want your pick 1 or pick 2, whatever it's going to be, and we also want your North Melbourne first round pick. We don't want your pick next year. We want your top level pick this year, just in case Zack Butters and your team gets really good next year. We don't want any of that. We want this deal, or we're going to go to Essendon and take what's probably going to be an overpriced deal that the Essendon Football Club are going to offer him. Again, Essendon are legitimately desperate for anything. They've got Melbourne's pick as well, which at the time of making this video is pick 2. And they've got their first round pick, which at the time of making this video is pick 6. You would way rather take Essendon's pick 2 and 6 than probably North's top 5 pick and your future first round pick, which may actually be good, especially if Richmond jump up. Now look, are Essendon a threat in potentially luring Zack Butters to the team? Probably yes, but at the end of the day, if Richmond and Essendon were having a bidding war for a player, I'm assuming that Richmond are going to win 9 out of 10 times. At the end of the day, especially in recent history and probably any history that any Essendon fan who's still alive can remember, Richmond are a way better club who have way more success as of recently, and looks like, again, maybe jumping the gun on this, but they look like they're already building a better future than what Essendon are, and they've only been rebuilding for 1 off-season. The culture tends to be better at Richmond. There's no massive scandals at Richmond that have long lasted 10 years like there have been at Essendon. Richmond arguably already have a better young core. They arguably have better coaching, a better system, better development, and they've got more money than Essendon right now. So it does technically, to me, seem like everything would point to Zack Butters choosing Richmond, especially considering I don't see how Collingwood and Hawthorn are going to have the cap space and capital in terms of draft picks and whatnot to go out and get Zack Butters. But again, I think this could come down to a bidding war, because Richmond could agree to a contract with Zack Butters that Butters is really happy with, but at the end of the day, he's still contracted for 1 more year. And if Richmond are only offering one of their top 10 picks to Port Adelaide and a future first or something, they're going to say, sorry, Tigers, we are getting a offer that's 10 times better because Essendon are a legitimate desperate club now who really needs Zack Butters? Again, Essendon needs Zack Butters a lot more than what Richmond do. Richmond have only just started their rebuild and drafting. Essendon have been drafting for a long time now, and they're probably thinking these guys got to develop either this year or next year. We can't just keep adding continuous picks to this. We gotta go out and get a guy now, and they probably will be looking at Zack Butters, and I think merit will probably push that. But at the end of the day, I'm still assuming that Butters would pick Richmond. It's also like Butters technically fits in Essendon's midfield a little bit more, though. I will give them that if anything is wrong with Zack Butters' game, he can be a little bit of a butcherer with the ball. And I'm not saying there's a bad thing, because him butchering the ball is still 10 times better than guys like Taranto and Hopper butchering the ball. Again, Zack Butters is going to make that up with something great, while Hopper and Taranto most of the time do not. But at the end of the day, if you've got Zack Butters, Taranto, and Hopper all in that midfield who have a trait of butchering the ball and causing turnovers and idiotic decisions, it might not be the best thing. But at the end of the day, Richmond could be arguing and saying, well, we're not looking at that. We're more so looking at Butters playing with Lawler, Smiley, and whoever else we take in the midfield over the next 5 to 10 years. They're probably not looking at Taranto and Hopper being in there, obviously, over the next 5 to 10 years. So a lot of really interesting things going on here. Again, I think Zack Butters to Richmond is a massive chance, although I do still think Port are going to hold desperately on him, because I think they know they have a lot of leeway, over these teams right now, and they're going to be asking for the best offer. They're not going to care where Butters wants to go, probably. They're going to be wanting the best offer, and that's probably going to be from Essendon. So, of course, I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. Do you guys think Zack Butters should pick Richmond, or should he go to Essendon? Should he stay at Port or go to a different team? Again, I'd very much like to know your thoughts and opinions down below. Subscribe to my gaming channels and my IRL/long channel, which will be getting linked in the description down below. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.